Good
morning.
morning, Miss Jamila. How are you?
I am good. How are you, Miss Cat?
I'm so much better now that we get to talk about a really, really hot topic that I've
Yes.
been hearing so many people talk about, and that is who we surround ourselves
Mm.
matters. What do you think of that?
That is powerful. That is it. And that is a huge foundation of health. Who you surround yourself with, that is a huge foundation of your health and wellness, your mental space. So I'm excited to talk about this and dive in.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you right off the bat. You said that it impacts your health and it's a
Yeah.
big part of your overall health and well being. How so?
Such a great question. I always tell my clients, friends, that who you surround yourself with determines, oftentimes, not always, your habits. So I have a lot of people who want to go to the bar and they want to go to, I just want to go to the bar with my friends, which is fine every once in a while. But if you find yourself doing this every single weekend, you're going to the bar, you're drinking, you're smoking, you're out all night, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Now you're sleep deprived. And this is a habit. It's a consistent habit because this is what your friends like. Your friends like to do this and they like to do this often. Well, then, how are you impacting your overall health by doing these things? And a lot of people tell me, well, it's so hard because this is social interaction. This is how I interact with my people. And so I'm like, okay, all things in moderation, but at the same time, maybe you need a different circle of friends. Because when you have friends who are like, hey, girl, let's go work out. Hey, did you drink your water today? What are you eating for breakfast? Let's have something healthy. Like it's something that motivates you to want to do those things when you have that circle of positivity versus the circle of people who are just like, yeah, let's go to the bar, let's go get a drink. It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. So, what
It
do you?
totally is. Not only a different mindset, it's just a different lifestyle. And
Yeah,
I'm really, I'm really happy that you said the word habit because
yeah,
no matter if you're, in your 20s or 30s, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't we give more leniency to folks in their 20s and 30s to go ahead and just get it out of your system? If you want to drink alcohol, that's the time. If you want to experiment with stuff, like that's the time because your body is more resilient. It can bounce back quicker. Do
yeah.
you feel like it's kind of ingrained in us that that is more acceptable at that age?
I think so. I think because that's the party years per se. Now, for me, I didn't get to really experience that. I was married at 21 years old. I was young. And so I didn't really have the typical 20, 30-year-old experience. Now I'm divorced, I'm in my 40s. And now people like I have some friends who are like, girl, live now. It's time for you to go live and go out. But that's just not the type of lifestyle I want to live. However, to your point, I do think that we are more lenient, but I also tell people all the time, you have to take care of your body when you are young. Because that is the most important time. Because then, if you're preparing your body when you're young, it will take care of you when you're older.
Yes.
So, in alcohol, quite honestly, not to even go down this rabbit hole, but it's so toxic to the system, so toxic to our brain. Um, People have to just be really careful. So, yes, I think our bodies are more resilient in our 20s and 30s, but how is it impacting us when this is a habit that we do, especially a lot of 20, 30-year olds, well, more so 20-year olds are partying, they're getting it out of their system a lot.
Yeah.
And it would just be curious to know how is this going to impact you in your later years.
Well, I can share from my own personal experience that I was a late bloomer, and when I did get into drinking alcohol, it was more in my mid 20s to
Yeah.
late 20s to early 30s and beyond. I kept pushing it, and I discovered that certain people that I would hang out with, good people, I would label them as good people who
Yeah.
also drank a lot of alcohol. I would drink more alcohol when I spent time with them. I'm remembering one individual in particular who was such a good person, wholesome, I would describe this person,
Yeah.
but they drank a lot of alcohol. It was a daily occurrence, and it was
Yeah.
typically at night with dinner, and then on weekends a little bit more in excess. And I'm telling you, when I spent more time with that individual, I drank a lot more. And
Yeah.
then I've also spent time with people who didn't drink at all, and then I didn't drink at all. It's just easier to it's easier to not drink when nobody else is drinking.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a clear-cut example of how much the people we surround ourselves with impact us. And it's
Yeah.
not like I was against alcohol, but I can tell you now that I'm in my mid 40s, I don't bounce back the same way that I used to in my 20s and even my 30s when I drink alcohol.
Right.
And now that I've been pretty much alcohol free for the past 2 years, I will share that it feels so good, and I really have absolutely no desire to drink
Yeah.
because I'm no longer interested in the repercussions that come with drinking alcohol. And I've also found that I don't need it as a social lubricant. I don't need it in order to connect with people. I have found deep, meaningful ways to just connect through honest conversation, thoughtful conversation, deep listening. And so it's like I had to break out of that habit of thinking that drinking alcohol was normal and hanging out with people who drank in excess was normal. And I had to break out of that. And I will say it's been really, really good.
Yeah. I love that. And I think because even in business settings, right? Like when I worked in a corporate environment and we would go travel for these events, every single time, Cap, I went to a restaurant, like I'm talking about the director, she's like, Jamila, you gonna drink? Jamila, do you want wine, red wine, white wine? And most people are tempted because they feel like they need to make a face, right? Because the director is asking them. And I would always say no. They thought I was bougie, girl. They thought I was so, they were like, girl, oh Lord, what are you going to, I would always say, no, I'll take water with lemon. I didn't say it like that, but like I'll take water with lemon or lemonade. And they still would ask me until eventually they said, oh, Jamila doesn't want to drink. Get her water with lemon. Like they finally got it, like after the 12th 13th time of like having these events. Um so some people, I think because I never was a drinker, it was easier for me to be able to say no, I'm okay. Now, did people peer pressure me in my adult life, which is crazy to me? Absolutely. Peer pressure. Oh girl, why are you so square? Or come on, just have one drink. And I mean, this is 30s and 40s. And so I think people need to understand in business settings too, it's okay to say, I just want some water with lemon. And interestingly, to the point of that, I feel like I started to influence a lot of people because they would say, oh, Jamila, that's why your skin looks so good because you don't drink. Or, oh, Jamila, that's why your stomach is flat because you don't drink. They would start saying stuff like that. And then I would notice, slowly, well, let me just have what Jamila's having. So I appreciate the influence that we can also give to people when we stand firm on our convictions and we stand firm in spite of what everybody else around us is doing. But sometimes it takes time to get to that point, and some people are not strong enough to get there. So you have to be very careful who you surround yourself with, especially if you know that you're not strong enough to, maintain the healthy lifestyle that you want to live. And especially if you're on a health journey, I think it's super, super important to really be mindful of the people you're surrounding yourself with because it'll be so easy to fall back if you're, around people who are like, come on, it's okay. You can have a drink. Don't worry about it. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's a journey for sure.
I I'm thinking about several clients, not just one client, but several clients who have shared with me that in order for them to do business and do it successfully and to make business deals go down, they have to engage in a lot of dinners and they feel peer pressured to drink alcohol. And
Yeah.
so in some cases, I feel I feel very sympathetic because I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and know that sometimes we don't always get to choose who we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
Maybe when it comes to work in particular and making business deals, and I don't want to be unrealistic and say, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing business deals with people who are peer pressuring you to drink, because I don't think that's realistic. I think that there's different ways of navigating challenging situations like that. And I want to believe that people have their own power and agency in saying, you know what, I'm good, but I'm going to have something else to drink. And then they stand firm in that. When I hear this, it's from grown people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who are sharing this with me, who are well established, quite wealthy, and they still feel immense peer pressure
Yeah.
from 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 folks that they want to do business with. And I just wonder if there's a way to navigate that where they could even gain the respect of the person that they are politely declining. And maybe it's as simple as just saying, you know what, I'm good. And actually, I'm going to have this. And then if they want to, they could even share, like, I'm trying to lose weight, or, it hasn't, I'm trying to cut back a little bit. And,
Right.
and see how that other person responds to that, because we only get one life, and money's great and I know that we need it and all of that, but I think being true to yourself and honoring your body and honoring like what you want for yourself health wise is crucial. It's so important.
Yes. Honoring your body. I love that. It's honoring your body. It's self-respect. Now, I'm sure you and I can agree, like, we're not saying don't ever drink, like, this is terrible. But I think it's important that people who are finding themselves, like you said, I'm just gonna have one drink, but they end up having three, four, five, you know, because they're in this business setting and everybody's passing around drinks, or because they're with this friend group, whatever the case may be. That's where you have to take a pause and ask yourself, is this honoring my body? Is this lifestyle that I'm doing, is it honoring my body? And I think at the same time, like you said, it's a huge conversation starter. Me being the one at the bar who's not drinking, I stick out like a sore thumb, girl. They're like, you're not having a drink? And typically it's always a conversation starter. And it's an opportunity for me to be able to shed some light on, like, I'm not judging anybody. Hey, if you want to have a drink, there is no judgment. But for me in my life, that's not what I want. And it allows me to share, like, health and wellness. Like, hey, I'm a health coach and, this and that. And I think that can be a beautiful thing also. But it's really challenging. I agree. I've spoke with clients who, and male clients too, who were like, Jamila, I don't know how else to do this, because when I'm in this setting, I also loosen up when I drink. It helps me loosen up. It helps me to have better conversations. And when I talked to the one gentleman specifically, I said, that's a mindset. You've trained yourself to believe that you have to drink to loosen up and to have these good conversations. You need to shift that. That's something that needs to be shifted, because you can still have good conversations without alcohol. And he was
Yes.
like, that's true. But it's something that he's taught himself to believe over the years. And so I think a lot of people need to do some shifts, because I hear that excuse. I loosen up, I feel good, I sleep better. We know that's a lie. Because you will fall asleep, but is it quality sleep? That's definitely You're not getting quality sleep with a full stomach of alcohol. Like you just are not. Um, so I think a lot of this is just a shift in mindset, and not saying you can't be around friends who do these things, but you have to make a mindful choice for your life to ensure that you are in a place where you want to be, and these friends that you have or people that you're surrounding yourself are like-minded in helping you evolve and grow to where you want to be versus keeping you stuck. Um,
Yes, keeping you stuck. What a great way to say it.
yeah.
Um, while you were talking, I'm thinking there are probably folks out there who sometimes don't have a choice. There's somebody very close to them whom they have no control over, or they have very little control over how much time they spend with them, and maybe they're not the most positive influence in their life, whether it's alcohol or maybe it's just a negative mindset, you
Yeah.
know. So to take a break from alcohol, because I feel like we could totally dedicate an entire episode to alcohol.
Yeah.
Um, because I've been on both sides of alcohol. I've drank a lot, and then now I'm at this point in my life where I don't drink anything.
Yeah.
But in surrounding yourself with people who, let's go to negative people, because this has a huge impact.
Yeah.
And I want to make it very clear that just because somebody is negative, number one, they may not realize it. Number two, they may still be a good person. Just because they're negative doesn't mean they're not a good person. They could be a really good person.
Yeah.
But maybe they've conditioned themselves to think more negatively than positively. I know that when I'm around these kinds of people, I definitely start spiraling into more negative thoughts. And it's not only the people, but it tends to have a domino effect where I will gravitate more towards negative media. Like I'll focus more on the news, or I'll watch shows that are more stressful, that induce stress in me. And I will start to change my perspective on how I see things in my daily life, where it's more of like a glass is half empty, however that saying goes,
Yeah.
as opposed to being full.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking of negative people, and it's such a touchy subject too, because I don't want to throw out the word toxic, but that word gets tossed around quite a bit, especially
Right.
right now. Hanging out with people who quote unquote might be toxic, and what I think of that is, when I think of a toxic person, I think of somebody who's like slowly poisoning you with with their words,
Yes.
or their actions. And these things, they don't have to be jolting, they don't have to be all at once. They could be slow and
Yes.
gradual, and it just takes a toll on your overall health. Jamila, have you ever been in a toxic relationship with a friend, family member, somebody close to you? Do you have experience with that?
Mm-hmm. I do. Do we want to go there? No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Well, you don't have to go into details. You can share as much or as little as you want.
yeah. I consider myself very blessed with my friend group. I have a very, very small circle, and I can go all the way back to like junior high, high school. I was always surrounded by positive people who pushed me to grow. So I'm so grateful. Like my friend group has been small, strong, mighty, very like-minded. Um, Before I talk about the toxic relationship, I did want to point out, I like what you said. Sometimes people don't know they're negative. And it makes me think, my daughter and I had a conversation yesterday because she was going through a situation with a friend. And I was sharing with her, you have to let people know and give them examples of what they're doing and how that experience of them, you and them, made you feel. Because sometimes they literally do not know. Like, we cannot read people's mind. And so I think, to your point, it's important that we navigate, you know, sometimes, because sometimes, well, let me go back. It's important that we navigate these negative situations and point it out to people. Hey, you know what? That experience that I had with you when you did this and that made me feel this way, you know, and show them. And if they can change behavior, or y'all can have a healthy conversation, I think that's great. But I think it's the people who you have conversations with and they're like, that wasn't what? No, it wasn't. It wasn't negative. And they keep doing the same thing. Then it's like, well, I need to make a decision if this is healthy for me, because it does wear on you. Um, Relationships. I was in a very toxic marriage. I was married for almost 20 years, and it was very up and down. It was a roller coaster of, you know, there were some good days, but it was very it had very toxic situations. And the person that I was with was angry a lot. Um, Emotional regulation was very low. And so it kind of put you in a position to, well, I want to have a conversation, but I'm scared. Because if I have a conversation, what's going to happen? Is he going to get angry? You know, and so just imagine that type of relationship when you want to have communication, you know that's necessary, but you don't know how to. Or you're scared to have a conversation. Or what if I have this conversation, what's going to happen next? That's just not healthy. And over time, it made me just feel alone, isolated. I couldn't share with anybody because people have this vision of me in this marriage and I have these kids. So I just felt very alone in that situation. And I think people need to really recognize, I would say, toxicity, negativity, have the conversation, no change behavior, make a decision sooner than later because it can wear on your mental health. I am a joyous person. Like, there's not a lot of things that make me, you know, down or sad. But I noticed in that time I started to feel depressed. And that is so out of character for me. And so I had to really recognize, okay, this is not healthy. And it's not healthy for my kids either. Because it's a domino effect. If you have somebody to take care of, or you have a business that you run, and you have people that you are called to, you know, to be there for, to inspire, it wears on you to a point to where it can impact everything in your life before you know it. Um, so yeah, those
Wow.
toxic, negative relationships are so heavy, and it's so important to get a hold on it as soon as possible, like as soon as possible. And I think my fault in that is I did not get a hold of it as soon as possible. I didn't communicate as soon as I should have or would have liked to. And so yeah, that's a little snippet. But yeah, it impacts you so heavily. What about you? Like, you experience situations,
I've
toxicity?
I've had a lot of experience with negative relationships. Some where I didn't get a choice. I had to be in that environment, and
Yeah.
I can I can share that it something similar to you where I lived in fear of not upsetting this person because they were so quick to be angry,
Mm,
and they could get set off very, very easily. And so I kind of had to walk on eggshells for a very long time.
mm,
And when I could get out of that situation, I ran as quickly as I could.
yeah.
I ran as quickly as I could, but I could tell that being in that environment for as long as I was, it took a toll on me in so many ways. it took a toll on my spirit. It took a toll on how I communicated. It took a toll on me emotionally, in that I was not in touch with my feelings at all. And so I had so many feelings inside of me, deeply buried, that were just begging to come out. And then once I got out of that environment, I was able to kind of unleash those feelings, and they came out full on. They didn't come out gradually. They came out big and explosive because they had been pushed away, locked away for so long. And so it has taken years of growing and working on myself to get to this place where I feel balanced. I feel very, very in touch and in tune with what my body tells me and what my heart tells me. And I'm continuing to work on that. And so I'm extra mindful about who I spend my time with. And I'll tell you, that environment I'm telling you about was very early on in my life. It was in my childhood through teenage years. So it was pretty much all I knew. And I will say, being conditioned in that way, I was attracted to people who had the same kind of energy as me, which was not confident, fearful, did not believe in myself, didn't think I would amount to much. And so I attracted good people with the low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. And I have discovered, as I grow, some of these friendships, they have very naturally or quite abruptly go away. And then I allow space and energy for more balanced and more positive relationships to enter into my life. And where I'm at right now, at 44 years old, I feel like I am the healthiest and I am the happiest. I'm in a wonderful relationship. The friends that I have, I adore and I trust. And, you know, if you're friends with me, then we're probably going to be friends for life.
Yes.
I'm so, I feel so confident saying that because
Yeah.
because I know it to be true. And I have had the opposite be true, where I've had friends for seasons, and I appreciate all the friendships and all the experiences I've had because they helped me to grow and they've helped me to get to this point. And P.S., I'm not done growing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot more growth happening. And that's what I think that's what's so exciting about life is, even though I'm in this wonderful place, I want more for myself. How do you feel about that? Do you want more for yourself, or are you done? You've reached the pinnacle.
See, and I totally agree. Like, we're always growing. That should be our goal. I always say I'm never where I want to be. Like now, I want to keep growing. I want to keep learning. I want to keep evolving to be better and better and better. And you have to be around people who believe the same thing, like who don't have a cap on growth. It's like those individuals who are like, I've made it. I don't need anything else. Like I've arrived. It's like, okay, well, maybe we don't need to. That's great. That's great for you, And it just makes me think, and you tell me what you think about this, because I've met people who are like, I don't know how to let go of this relationship, or I don't know how to let go of this friendship. I know it's not doing me well. I know that, I probably should take a step back, but we've been friends since elementary school or whatever. And I'm, like you said, I feel like things organically start to happen when you start to grow beyond other people. It's no hate toward them, but it's almost like this gradual space kind of starts to happen because y'all are on different mindsets. And I think that can be really hard for people And I would say if anybody's watching who is struggling with a friendship or a relationship and they know that it's not doing them well, they've had the conversations, they don't see any change behavior, um, I would encourage you to live your life to the fullest, making sure that you are living a life that you want, healthy, eating clean, whatever. I really believe gradually these things start to happen, like organically. And also, it's important to have a conversation. Like, listen, we are growing apart. I'm into this, you're into that. Our lifestyles are not aligning. And I want to make sure that I can be healthy for me, and I want you to be good too. So, where do we go from here? you know,
Yeah.
Now I'm no expert, but I'm just saying, I think it's important to sometimes we have to let go. And in your experience, Kat, what do you think about letting go? And is it challenging to let go?
Absolutely. I was thinking of so many things.
Yeah.
One thing that you said earlier was sometimes you were fearful of having that conversation with your partner, and you wish you would have done it sooner. But I think things happen exactly when they're supposed to, and I think the operative word there was conversation. So having a conversation, you know, giving people the benefit of the doubt, I think is a really positive mindset. So having a conversation and saying like, hey, I'm noticing this, and I have to let you know, like, that really impacts me in this way. If you give people that opportunity to understand how they're impacting you, then you are really letting it be in their hands. They get to make the choice, right? Now it's on them. But you have to do your part, and you have to let them know. You cannot assume that they know what they're doing. And so as a good friend, I think sometimes we have to go out on a limb and we have to have that uncomfortable conversation. I've had that uncomfortable conversation more times than I can count with a lot of different people. And I've had people do this to me as well. And I'm at this place where I'm very open-minded to hearing somebody say like, hey, just so you know, like that hurt me. And then I'm like, whoa, I did not mean that. Or here's what I meant to say. I'm so sorry. And I've not always been that open-minded. I used to be more on the defense. And so when somebody would come to talk to me and let me know how I made them feel and it was negative, I would be like, well, not my problem, or and I would find a way to blame them and then make it about them, not me, and then cut them off. I remember, and it's such a childish, immature attitude, but that was all I was capable of the time. This was when I was younger. And now I try to really hear the other person, and I can say, to be on the receiving end, it hurts. It hurts because I don't want to hurt anybody, and that's never my intention. But I think that it's so necessary, especially if you want a true friendship. If you want a superficial friendship, then go ahead and not say anything. Don't go there. Don't go deep. Don't go to the uncomfortable places. But your friendship will most likely just stay on the surface level.
Yes.
If you're willing, this is what I say to people who are super close to me. It's not like I want to fight, but sometimes we're going to have uncomfortable conversations. So I call them like a fight, and I say, hey, be willing to go in the ring with me. Get in the ring with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. I just want to know that you're willing to go there with me. And what that shows me is like, it's not going to be perfect, but at the end of it, somehow we're going to become closer.
Yes.
Because we're going to really see each other. We're really going to hear each other.
Yes.
And so if somebody out there is listening to this and they are like, man, I've got this person in my life and I know that it's toxic or it's negative, it doesn't make me feel good, it makes me feel less than, I don't shine as brightly, I'm not living up to my full potential, I don't feel supported, then that merits, and that person is is worth having the conversation with, because maybe there's some people that aren't worth it. But if this person is worth it to you, give them that opportunity to make a decision. Have the heart to heart and say, hey, like, this is making me feel this way. And I don't know if you realize that, but
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, like, it's making me feel really, really small, or whatever feeling they're having.
Yeah.
And then see how they respond. See
Yeah.
how they respond. I have been in this situation, and a couple of years ago I had to have a very difficult conversation with a close friend. This person was so loving, so supportive, so caring, but at the same time, they were abusing their body. They were putting toxins into their body. Sometimes I would visually see it when we were on FaceTime calls. They were doing all of these unhealthy things, and it's like, even though I know better and I'm going to do what's right for me, to just see that day in and day out of somebody putting in really bad foods into their body, bad drinks, bad drugs, all these things, it really wears on you. It really does have an impact, even if you know better, and even if you're not doing that,
That's
it
it.
does have an impact. And I would tell them how much of an impact it had on me. And it got to the point where it was too much, and I needed to limit how much time I was spending with that person.
Yeah.
And I thought that that would be good. Like, maybe limiting time with specific people is the right solution, but in this particular case, that did not work for them.
Yeah.
And so we had to end it. And it was very sad at first, but Jamila, God, I felt lighter.
Yeah.
This is a true test, is like, after something like that happens and you're worried about what it would be like to not have that individual in your life, see how you feel after. Do you feel heavy? Do you feel miserable? Do you miss them terribly? Or do you feel lighter or something else? And for me in this case, I felt lighter, and I felt like I could fly more. I could move about the world a little bit lighter.
Yes. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Because I think too, it just makes me think, when you're in relationships or situations where you see these types of habits and you are on a different path, it can cause some resentment also. Not that you're trying to resent, but you know this person can do so much better. And you're like, God, just please, just take care of yourself. Please, like, you're almost begging internally. And when you see that they're not, I feel like it can cause some resentment and some strain, because you see it one way and they see it another way. And so that can wear on you also, in terms of your health, your mental health, because it's a stressor in a sense. So I totally agree. Sometimes it's necessary. Listen, it's necessary sometimes, not only for us to manage stress, but to eliminate it. If we can eliminate where we need to eliminate, then we need to eliminate. Yeah, I said that 3 times because
Yeah, because you need to cement that into people's mind. I like that you said that so directly, because people can dance around it and they can say, well, we need to lessen stressors in our lives, and that's not wrong. Yeah, that's true. But
yeah,
there are some stresses that just need to be, as you said, eliminated. They need to be done.
yeah, yeah. And I know we're not going to go here, but in the next episode, to that point, people need to realize how strong and powerful not only these relationships, but the relationships that cause stress impact our physical body. It impacts your physical body in a point to where it can cause disease,
Yes,
make you sick.
yes,
So I think healthy relationships where we can grow together, evolve, where we have like minds. We don't have to agree 100%, absolutely not. that wouldn't be fun because we're not learning. But especially, I feel like when people are on a journey, a health journey, like you and I, we want to live healthy. We want, to eat clean. It's important to surround yourself with like-minded people. It just
Yes.
is. And yes, do I come across people who are not, you know, who do not have the same goals as me? I do, and that's fine. And I enjoy talking to people in those seasons of life in a way, hoping that I can inspire them somehow by the way I live my life. I'm definitely not perfect, but I think that's just what it is. It's just a breeze of a time where we get to connect and then we go our separate ways. Um, Unless we have like minds, quite
Yeah.
honestly. Um,
With that said, I also want to say that I have done that with some friends where we were on the same path, and then for whatever reason we split off and we kind of did our own thing. But then life made it so that we did come back together. I have a really solid friendship right now where that exact thing happened, and
yeah,
we've been reconnecting, and we share recipes, we talk about personal growth and the podcasts we listen to, we talk about coaching and teaching because she's a teacher. Actually, she's a middle school dean, and so she's got all the experiences.
yeah,
But and I just said this to a friend the other day, you know, that that friend I was telling you about who I'm no longer in communication with from a couple years ago,
yeah,
I still have room in my heart and I have space around me so that if we could have a healthy relationship with very healthy boundaries, I'm open. I am so
yeah,
open to having that friendship again. I really am. I'm not so like black and white and like, let's cut this off. I'm just more like, I let things organically flow. So if it
yeah,
doesn't make sense for us to be in each other's lives right now, okay, then that's how it goes. And I make nothing more of it. And
yeah,
it doesn't have to be a big drama. It doesn't have to be a big deal. But I just wanted to share that with you because I have been through stuff like that. And that's not the only one. There have been several times in my life where I've had to have super challenging conversations. I will say this though, because we are talking about a lot about how the negative relationships, interactions impact our lives, but we need to make sure we give just a little bit of time at least to the healthy relationships and how they positively impact our lives. Because I will say, you know, honestly, this friendship I have with you, it couldn't be better because we're on the same page as far as health is concerned. But not all relationships look like that, right? Not everybody's a health coach, not everybody's talking about nutrition and exercise, but there are really, really good people out there who support us, who make us feel seen, who
mm,
make us feel heard, who
yeah,
believe in us, who know how to cheer us up, who know how to make us laugh, who are friendly and kind and polite. There are so many different characteristics to really good people that we want to surround ourselves with. And it does not have to be strictly related to the food that we're eating and the exercises we're doing.
right. I totally love that you said that because I think a lot of friendships, even that I have, we are very different. We are very different, yet we are supportive to the T of each other. We lift each other up. You know, we keep it very real. Like, hey, I don't agree with that. Let's talk about it. We're very open-minded. I think it's not about and going back to like minds. Like minds doesn't mean we're exactly the same and we agree 100% or we do exactly the same things, but we're on a similar path. Um, and you're right. We lift each other up. We love on each other. And I think also having differences in relationships and friendships makes us stronger in a sense to like I may be strong in an area and weak in another area, and this person may be really strong in the same area that I'm weak, and we can come together and be a powerhouse.
Yes.
Yes. So, positive relationships, I mean, I think back to high school, and I'll share this. So, I had a group of friends, and majority of them went like they were like, we're gonna be virgins until we're married. Like we're not having sex until marriage. And I believe because I was in this friend group, it helped me stay very committed to that. Like I was like, well, I'm not gonna have sex until I'm married. Like not because of my friends, but it was very easy. Like that was the path I wanted to go down. I did not want to do that. And I'm grateful for those friendships that I had. I'm grateful for people who spoke up and said, well, Jamila, yeah, like let's make a pact. Like we're not gonna have sex until marriage. Now, if I was in a different friend group and that everybody was having sex, would I have done it? I don't know. I hope not. I don't think I would have. I think I was pretty strong at that age. But it's just it's so interesting how there's so much influence when you're surrounded by people very often, like daily, every weekend, and the conversations that y'all have or the way that people think, it's so much can influence you to a point to where it can shift your mind or make you change your mind. Um, so I'm super grateful for those relationships that challenged me to do better for myself, you
I
know?
love that. I love that. You're making me think of a couple of friends in particular whom I've kept over the years who have very, very differing, they have very different perspectives on politics,
Yeah.
on religion, on health in general. And it would be very easy for me to just not try to see their perspective and
Yeah.
judge and just be upset and be like, well, I don't want to surround myself with people who think that differently about important topics like that. And I have discovered that I want my friends, because at the end of the day, underneath all of that, we're both really, really good people. And so, and there are so many wonderful things about our conversations that go beyond politics and religion. And so I want to hear, for a long time, I wouldn't even go to those topics, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But now I want to hear what they have to say. And I don't have to agree. In fact, I could staunchly disagree.
Yeah.
However, I want my friend to feel heard,
Yes.
and I want it to be reciprocated so that I can feel free to share that, hey, I disagree
Yeah.
wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And here's how I feel. And I just want my friend to hear me, and we don't have to agree, but I think that that's where differences are so beautiful because we can start to see another person's perspective, because I really do not want to just hang out with other personal trainers and health coaches
Yeah.
all day every day. That's not the
Yeah.
spice of life. The spice of life is like having exposure to lots of different types of people. I feel like that's super interesting.
Absolutely. And it helps you to grow. And I think also like even in my experience, it helps me to know, okay, I understand. Like instead of being in my own little box, that I can be in, when I can understand people's perspectives and experiences, it helps me to be able to relate. It helps me to be able to have more empathy, and not be so judgmental or come from a place of judgment. And I think that's so important that we can be open minded while also being mindful of healthy boundaries if it gets to that point. Um, but it's important that we can talk to each other. And I love the fact that we have friendships where we can have these open conversations. And I can say, girl, I do not agree with that, but I hear you. Let me tell you what I feel about it. And we can both like have like this healthy conversation back and forth. It's not screaming or cussing or like, what's wrong with you? It's like a healthy debate.
Yes.
Um, and then in the end, we learn from each other when we have these types of relationships also. But I think the key to these relationships is it has to be two-sided. Like both parties have to be willing to have the healthy debate without being defensive and like, how dare you think like that? Um,
And there still needs to be respect.
and there needs to still be respect. I think those are beautiful relationships, and it's so empowering because you grow. I've grown so much in relationships like that where we completely don't really see eye to eye on a lot of subjects, but at the end of the day, like you said, the root of it is kindness, love, support. We're willing to hear each other, and that's powerful. And I think we have to decipher between those types of relationships where maybe we don't agree, but we support each other versus we don't agree and we don't support each other and we don't hear each other and it's constantly going back and forth. We have to really decipher between the two. Um,
And which
yeah.
ones we want to invest more time and energy in, and which ones we're just ready to like naturally let go of.
Yeah. Invest. I like that word.
Invest.
We have to think about, is this relationship worth our investment? Is it worth our time? Even if we're different, even if we don't always see eye to eye, even if we don't eat the same. Maybe they like to drink alcohol on occasion. Is it worth the investment? Is the person or the relationship at the root worth it? I think we have to ask ourselves those questions
Yeah.
as well.
And you
So,
might not know the answer right off the bat, but to start
yeah.
thinking in that way, when the answer reveals itself, because it always does, then you'll know.
Mm, it always does. What's in the dark will come to light. Like it always.
Amen. I'm not even religious, and I just felt like amen is appropriate.
Listen, because I agree with that. It really will. It will. It always does at the end of the day. Maybe it takes some time, but it always does. And I feel like people know what they need to do. And I would say like we need to give ourselves grace on this journey of life that we're on. We are going to meet people along the way that are amazing and that are worth our investment, and we're going to meet people who may not be. And to your point, it may take some time to recognize that, but we have to give ourselves grace. It makes me think about even when I was in this marriage, like I have to give myself grace because sometimes I'm like, I wish I had done it sooner. I wish I had spoke up sooner. I wish I had this, and that. But I'm also in a season where I'm learning to give myself grace and knowing that things happen just as they should in the time that they should have happened
Yeah.
when I was ready. Um, and wow, so much learning that I experienced from that situation. So much learning that I experienced. Um, and a question real quick for you. I noticed as I got out of this relationship, I recognized triggers that would come up that I didn't even know I had. And I would recognize like these triggers, like somebody would say something and it would make me feel a certain type of way. And I would have to go back and sit in that, like, why do I feel like this? What is that about? Why am I responding or reacting in this way because of this trigger? And I had to recognize, oh, okay, this is past trauma that I need to pay attention to and deal with it and heal from it so that I don't respond to people in a negative way because of what somebody else did. And so I think it's also important that we, all of us, whoever's watching, if you have past experiences that may have been trauma or may have been negative or even positive, recognize reactions and pay attention to the root of the reaction. Is this reaction coming from a place that it has nothing to do with this person and I'm just responding because of something in the past? Or is this reaction really me? So I've had to really work on that also, making sure I'm healing from past traumas and not responding negatively. So people don't say, girl, what's wrong with you?
You know what? Me too. And I love that you brought that up because I feel like we really should dedicate a whole other episode just to trauma and how we've dealt with it and how we've recognized the triggers, because I use that word trigger a lot. And if you're open to it, I think that we should definitely dedicate an episode to just that.
Absolutely.
And I
Yes.
want to thank you for sharing and being vulnerable with your history of your toxic relationship. I appreciate that so much. I really hope that people listening today got some insight and maybe something that could help them. Maybe they're in a relationship right now where they've been thinking about like, I'm not sure what to do about this. Do I need to have that
Yeah.
conversation? Do I need to let it go? You know, maybe we can help you. Maybe this conversation, listening to this conversation, was that little push you needed to just take a step
Yeah.
forward and do something about it.
Absolutely. Take a step forward. And I think too, make sure if you're on a health journey, like this is a big one. If you're on a health journey and you're recognizing that you're doing so good the whole week, I mean, you are just doing amazing. And then you have this phone call and they're like, hey, let's go to the club, to the bar, and you keep falling back into bad habits. What steps do you need to take to ensure that you can continue your journey and live the life that you really want? Live a lifestyle that you want. Have the conversation, um, and take care of you, because at the end of the day, this body is the only vessel that we will have. That's it. No other vessel. So we have to take care of it by any means necessary. Um, and sometimes that means keeping amazing friendships and cutting some things, relationships, friendships. Um, but yeah, our environment and who we surround ourselves with is so important to our health, our mental health, physical body, our spirit. So
All of it. It's all connected.
it's all connected.
Um, Thank you, Jamila, for being here today and for sharing your insights and sharing your heart and your experiences. And thank you to everybody listening.
Yes.
This has been a tough conversation, but I feel like a very necessary one. And we can definitely talk about it more if this is something anybody's interested in hearing more about. Because I got more examples, I got more stories and more thoughts.
Yes, it could go on and on. Thank you too. This is a great topic. I love that you came up with this topic and it's right on. I really hope that people are inspired from this conversation. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. And thank you so much, and I hope you have a blessed day.
Have a blessed day.
Bye.
Bye.